I want to share with you guys a story about Trey. Now, Trey's a pretty stand-up guy. Usually keeps to himself, doesn't cause much trouble. He's kind, caring, friendly. He loves spending his time with his girl, Caroline, and his son, London. Now, Trey shares London with his ex-girlfriend, Nicole. They don't always see eye to eye, but Trey does the best he can to keep the peace. On a Friday night, Trey was making dinner. London and Caroline were playing. After dinner, Trey took London a bath. Just after bath time was over, Nicole called to talk to her son. And while Nicole was talking to London, Trey was putting lotion and tickling his body, getting his PJs on, and Nicole had asked London what he was doing. And London replied, playing with Caroline. Immediately, Nicole got mad. She started threatening Caroline, calling her the B word, being disrespectful, all while London was still on the phone. Trey immediately hung up the phone and apologized to Caroline and London for having to listen to that. He wasn't very happy, but he handled the situation the best he could. He simply sent Nicole a text message saying, you know what, it was me that was playing with London while you were on the phone, not her. However, Nicole wasn't having it. She kept sending a barrage of threatening and disrespectful text messages, but Trey just ignored him and didn't respond for the rest of the night. Over the next few days, Nicole would call for London, and before she hung up, she'd throw a few disrespectful verbal jabs, all of which Trey heard, but he just let roll off his back. So when it came time for London to be dropped off with his mom, Trey and London waited outside downstairs like they usually do. And when she came out to get him, he didn't say anything to her. He just kissed his son, told him that he loved him and to be a good boy. And as he was walking away, he could clearly hear Nicole asking London, is that girl in the car? Did she come with you? Because I'm going to go over there and tell her how rude and disrespectful she is. Now, as much as Trey wanted to turn around and say something, he just got in his car and he went home. Later on that evening, he tried to call for London to say goodnight, but there was no answer. So he waited about an hour and then he called again. And when London picked up, all he kept saying was, good night, Dad, good night, Dad, good night, Dad. Then he hung up in his face. Deep down inside, Trey knew that London was being influenced. And as much as he wanted to call back, he just let it go. Now that next afternoon, Trey called Nicole to talk to London and realized that Nicole had blocked him out of the blue. Now this made him upset, but instead of making a fuss, he just sent her a friendly email asking if she could please unblock him so he could talk to his son. But she never responded. So Trey tried to call, send an email, tried to call, send an email. She never responded. And Trey wasn't able to speak to London for 3 days. This really started to get to him. He felt frustrated because all he wanted to do was speak to his son. The next Friday, Trey and Caroline said a little prayer and came up with a plan of action if London couldn't be reached. But about an hour or two later, Nicole reached out to Trey with a pickup time for London. Trey tried to call to speak to his son, but she didn't answer. Now this was Trey's first mistake. Instead of focusing on the answered prayer that Nicole actually reached out and broke the silence, Trey was focused on how unfair it was that despite everything that Nicole had did during that week, he still let her talk and call her son as much as she wanted to. She had total access and she wasn't giving him the same. And his frustration is growing and transforming into anger. But throughout the day, he could hear the voice of the Lord saying, I got this. Let me handle this. I know you're angry. Don't let it control you. Trey, however, is tired of being the bigger person. His anger is growing. And on his way to pick up London, he can feel the adrenaline pumping through his veins. His heart is racing. His blood pressure sky high. His mind's all over the place. But while he's driving, he can clearly hear the voice of the Lord say, let me handle this. Trey finally arrives. He sends a message to Nicole saying that he's downstairs. In the meantime, he's trying to calm his nerves, and he can clearly hear instructions from the voice of the Lord saying, pick up London and leave. Those are his instructions, And Trey knows that's exactly what he's supposed to do. As Nicole came walking downstairs, God was literally telling Trey, don't say anything. Usually, when Trey picks up his son, he greets him. What's up, buddy? How was your day? I miss you. Oh, you're getting so big. But today's instruction was don't say one word. Now, God will never make us do anything. He always gives us a choice. And on this day, Trey decided to go against what he was supposed to do and let his anger win. Just as he was getting London, he looked at Nicole and said, why did you block me? Because Trey said something, he literally popped the cork and let his anger flow out. It didn't take much time at all for him to start yelling and cussing at Nicole. And the more and more he's talking, the more and more he's in his anger, the more and more he's thinking about all the things Nicole did during that week. He just got angrier and angrier. Now he's banging on her door, cussing at her and her boyfriend. He's downstairs yelling up out their balcony, all kind of disrespectful, hateful, profane things. Completely out of character. Now, this is the thing about anger. Nobody saw the good that Trey did before. Nobody saw the things that Nicole was doing to lead up to this point. The blocked calls, the threatening messages, the disrespect to him and his girlfriend. The only thing they could see was Trey making a complete fool of himself because he let anger get the best of him. You see, people with understanding control their anger, but a hot temper shows only foolishness. Fools vent their anger, but wise people hold it back. There's a scene in The Dark Knight, one of my favorite movies, where Harvey Dent is interrogating Schiff Thomas, a schizophrenic, with Russian roulette. When Batman confronts Harvey Dent, he says, yo, if anyone saw this, everything that you did would be undone. All the criminals that you captured would be released, and Jim Gordon would have died for nothing. Basically, what he was saying was when you get angry and you let your anger control you, everything good that you have done can become unraveled. All it takes is out of anger to make one false move and everything that you built can come tumbling down. Because this is what anger does to you. It causes you to make out of character decisions. And those decisions and those actions can cause irreversible harm to you and to someone else. After Trey's anger subsided, he realized that because he let his anger get the best of him, he showed a complete lack of faith. See, when you hold your peace, when you hold your tongue, when you allow things to roll off your back, you are declaring that God has it under control. And when you act against that, you're saying to yourself, yo, I got this. Trey chose to focus on the trap, and because of that, he fell in it. And in doing so, he made himself look like a complete idiot. Don't let anger control you. You have a choice. You either trust God and let him handle the situation, or you move in your own power. But just remember, God is greater than any enemy and any circumstance.